Welcome, everyone, to the Win Now podcast, hosted by Deborah Byrd, founder and CEO of Plug and Play SM.
I am so excited for today's show, so let's go.
And then myself, Todd Bookspan, founder of Win by Noon. Welcome, everyone, to the Win Now podcast. I am your host, Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Deborah Byrd, the Plug and Play SM CEO and founder. Welcome, Deborah.
Hello. Welcome. Excited to be here.
Ferris wheel behind you. That's pretty awesome looking. You know, those people who are listening to this on the podcast format are not going to see the beautiful Texas Ferris wheel.
I mean, it's hard to miss. If you've ever been to Texas when it's fair time, it is a big deal here.
Well, that is awesome. And so we're not going to talk football today because we are super excited to have someone that I call the real estate rock star. I think, you know, that was his brand, and maybe it still is his brand. He'll tell us in a minute, but I just want to say a couple things about Ty Lusk. So number one is I've known Ty for a long time, and I have always said that Ty is the most popular real estate agent that I know, and really truly at the top of my favorites list for a lot of reasons. When I had my radio show, Ty came on with his guitar and sung a jingle that he wrote about me live on the spot.
What?
And so he really is a real estate rock star. He plays. I saw him at Keller Williams Family Reunion. He opened up for Gary Keller, and then I think maybe the Doobie Brothers played after him, singing his "I'm a Realtor" song. Maybe that's not the right name of it, but really, when he comes down to business, I think that he's one of the people I respect the most, because I think business is all about connections and relationships, and I do believe that Ty has the deepest relationships and the most connections of just about anyone I know. He is the director of sales for the Kenny Klaus team, which is a very successful team. I think a lot of you probably have heard of Kenny and his team, but they're a very successful team, helped over 370 families for $189 million, if I'm correct. And then, of course, I love the fact that Ty has been a Win by Noon user for more than 5 years, just about since we've been around. He's got a huge stack of them under his desk. If I was prepared, I would share that photo. But welcome, Ty.
Wow, I love you, man. I am so pumped. I really do. Well, it's, anytime I get to spend with you is always learning, and it's heartwarming. So I appreciate the kind words, man. And I'm excited to be in good company. So thank you for giving me the opportunity, man.
Well, no, and it really is a pleasure. And I was, really thinking as Deborah and I are launching this as a podcast, and really when we want to get into how we can be successful in our business in 2023, I feel like you do the right things week in and week out. And you set an example, I think for all real estate agents, but I also think for your team. And so when you're looking at 2023, I mean, what do you see as the big opportunities in the market, and what are you focused on?
We always feel like anytime there's a market shift, and I've been, in between lending and real estate, literally 25, 26 years, all my adult life. And every time I go through a shift, I always know there's a big opportunity to take market share, to be able to help more people in those down times. And I see a lot of folks that I know that have had some of their most successful years in times that other people might think are bad, or down times. And so what it means is more consistency with activity, more nurturing of relationships. It's being more on purpose, working smarter and harder. I mean, it takes both. In times like these. So the focus is in consistency, as always, and in increasing effectiveness and connections with people, so that when the time is right for them, we're there to be a resource. In the meantime, we just, stay in touch to make sure that they know we love them.
Well, and funny story, Todd. So the fact that you introed Ty, and I've never met Ty. This is the first time that he and I are ever talking. But I made a social media post, and it was actually last night. And I have a big real estate team here in the North Texas area. So it's crazy because he lives in Arizona. I guess Ty's originally from the North Texas area, but this agent messaged me and said, he commented on my story. He said that you were from where he grew up, and that you were his third grade baseball coach and a super awesome guy. He said you and your family were great. And so just goes to show you that, one, the power of social media and just connections of people, no matter when they leave the area that you grew up at, but being visible and just being a good human being is memorable. The way you make people feel. I mean, so much to the point where you were his third grade basketball. I said baseball, but it's actually basketball coach. So
Yeah, Corey Mills,
it's
man.
awesome.
I love their whole family. I've known his parents for a long time, watched them grow up. I mean, you got to keep in mind, I come from a small Texas town, not far from you, Whitesboro, Texas. It's population like 3,700 and something. And I was, grew up there, went to junior high and high school, and then of course went out to California for a while, got into mortgages, and then ended up getting into Arizona back in like 99 and getting the real estate. But it's been cool to see guys like Corey, for example, and his brother works with him as well, where they are building up big businesses and they're having a lot of fun. And it's cool from a national standpoint to be engaged with the real estate community. I happen to be with Keller Williams, but I've got connections across with all brokerages, EXP and Remax, and pretty much all the brokerages across the country. And I've got the pleasure of getting to meet so many folks nationwide. And it's, I want to be a resource, and I learn from them, and they, we learn from each other. So it's cool that came up. And I think, of course, it matters how we treat people, and that comes back tenfold in most cases.
Given that you're such a relationship and connection person, do you have a systematic process or way that either generates new connections, then also nurtures those connections? I feel like so many struggle with managing a database and knowing when, like, I don't know, do you do the 33 touches? Do you theme your days to make sure that you're, incubating and nurturing those that you add? I mean, what's kind of your process for that?
Well, I dedicate typically 2 to 3 hours per day, normally in the mornings. And that's whenever I use my CRM religiously. So we use Boomtown, and I've got, of course, all my past clients. Now you got to keep in mind, 92% of my business comes from past clients, sphere of influence, and real estate or professional referrals. So those are going to be other agents across the country. Those would be CPAs, lending partners, that kind of stuff. 92%. So all my time is spent in that realm. So I use my CRM. I also make it a point to have a goal list, what we call a 411, where I track my goals every week. And so in that are face-to-face appointments. So every week I want to get at least 2 of those. It might be an agent lunch, or it could be a client pop by. And so I track it that way. And then, of course, social media, I'm pretty intentional about interactions and DMs and just staying in tune. I'm posting fairly regularly, 3-4 times a week, usually on different social media platforms. And so those are the main 3 ways I get engagement. So a lot of BombBomb videos. I love BombBomb and use it every day. I love, obviously, calls, texts, pop-bys, lunches, coffees, and then, of course, social media interaction. So those are the main ways I'm able to nurture those relationships. But I'm on purpose about it. Like, I've got my goal. I know I've got 15 hours a week that is my goal for two-way communication and follow-up and just nurturing and staying in touch. But then face-to-face is very important as well. So I've got to block that in my calendar.
No one wants to block time in their calendar. But you said 15 hours face-to-face. So full disclosure, if anyone has ever heard me teach Win by Noon to real estate agents, when I get to the part of the calendar where you've got your, kind of your calendar on the side, I always say there's the way that I always did it was everything's in my phone. I always said I write down all my appointments. So I have on here, okay, Ty Lusk right now, 1:00 Arizona time, and it's in there. But what I always love is the first time I taught it to Ty's team 4 or 5 years ago, Ty's like, oh, Todd, that's not how I do it. I actually write in there he uses his accountability. He's like, I've already got what I'm supposed to do in my phone. And so you actually write in there, Ty, what you do throughout the day. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Here's today so far. So I don't know if you see it or not, but I start from when I wake up. And then what's interesting about it is that when I'm honest, and I am, I can look back and see what I actually did that day. Someone say, oh, I worked 8 hours today. Well, really, it was about 2.5. Because when you're really putting down, for me at least, when I'm tracking what I'm actually doing, I can easily go back. And it also helps me make sure that I'm spending equal amount of time or appropriate amount of time on the right activities. So meaning, my follow-up and face-to-face stuff, but also team responsibilities of, coaching our agents. We've got 11 agents right now, and I'm in charge of, I'm really like the team therapist, number one. But it's important to coach and train and run the meetings and the huddles. And so I've got to track that because that's one role that I've got. And so I want to make sure I dedicate the right amount of time to that. Is needed as well. So I just like the tool. I mean, I love Win by Noon. Like you said, I've used it, since the beginning. And I literally could go back and tell you anytime in the last 5 years what I did in any particular day because I wrote it all down in my book.
Yeah, I won't say that at your team meeting that you were nice enough to invite me to speak to your team earlier this year, that you also said it was a good alibi because you can tell exactly where you were.
It wasn't me, man.
Here's my picture. If you guys can see me sharing it right now, there's underneath Ty's desk. Those of you watching it's I think about 20 plus Win by Noons I'm showing on my screen, and that's underneath Ty's desk in his office. And so I do love that piece of it. And one of the things I loved about the meeting when we had it was you got to a point where you said, hey, you use it to measure the market last year. You said that in Q1, it took you, I think it was 34. How did you call it? You said you didn't call it calls. You called it 34 somethings to get an appointment.
Yeah, it was 34 contacts to an appointment in Q1 of 2022. By Q4 of 2022, it was, I think, 104. So all of a sudden, like legitimately, it was 3 times as many contacts to get one appointment. From Q1 to Q4, that's interesting because when we're talking to agents about what the expectations are going to be coming into our team or real estate in general, I think most underestimate the amount of effort that it actually takes. And so I like to have quantifiable numbers, and those are mine, and I'm 19 years in real estate, another 8 in lending before that. And I'm still, over 100 contacts to one appointment. So my skills, I'm sure, can always get better, and they continue to do so. But think about that from a new agent standpoint, that if my 104 might be 200 for them.
Yeah.
And, I think that people underestimate how much time and dedication it takes to talk to that many people every week.
Well, and I think if you're not recording those activities and tracking the results, then how do you really know how much and how hard you need to work in order to achieve your goals? Yeah. And I think it's got to impact your mindset too. I mean, as you're going through that, I mean, you had a choice. Either you could work 3 times as hard, or you could make, 1/3 of the amount of money. So how did that impact you from a just a mindset perspective?
Well, it was such a drastic shift in the Arizona market, meaning it was a tale of 2 halves in 2022, like much of the country. First half crushed it. Second half, whoa, what happened? And so we had more time in the second half instead of driving buyers out and showing, 15 properties and then making 12 offers and getting beat out in every one of them and spending time out in the field and gas. Then the second half was, we're going to spend the same or more amount of time inside in the AC, calling people and texting and sending videos out. So from the amount of time that we spent, it shifted from, going out, showing houses, writing offers, getting rejected, going out, showing houses, writing offers, getting rejected, to let's follow up and create relationships and nurture relationships. So that was the transition between obviously first half and second half of 22.
Well, that's what I love about social, when you can make one reel or one post and you get, even if it's just 30 views. And I know there's a lot of people who get obsessive of like how many likes, how many comments, but I will often ask them, if you were to make the same number of phone calls, like how long would it take you to make 30 phone calls that may or may not answer the phone? And so there's ways to really leverage social to drive people to conversation, which I always say the conversion and the dollars are made in the DMs. For those listening, that means direct message. So I just taught a class and they didn't know what DM meant. That's what it's, direct message, and it's on Instagram. But that it's a easy way to keep yourself like casting a wider net and being able to offer value, or to teach, or to share a story, or to share something about you that can connect people and lead them to conversations, which then leads to conversion.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. I mean, you've got to be on purpose and intentional with our social media strategy, and a lot of
Mhm.
it's fun and lighthearted and personal, and then the work stuff, may not always get, to your point, as much attention as some of the personal stuff might get.
Mhm.
Regardless, it is interacting with those people that interact with us and really caring and taking the time. And that's part of that. To me, that's part of prospecting time is social and the time
Absolutely.
spent back and forth. So I'm sure you've got some good advice on that, Deborah.
Yes, and it's something that I have to tell people, you have to guard your time. Like I love the fact that you use your planner to also document and record exactly what you do. I've heard people that will say every hour you take the last 5 minutes and write down what it is that you do, because that can be very telling of where you're choosing to invest your time. And social media, look, it can be a dark hole. Like I admit there's times I'm in bed and I'm laughing hysterically at TikTok and I look at the time and it's 4 a.m. and I'm like, holy moly, my alarm goes off in 2 hours. Like what? But it's so I do think people need to realize it's still a social medium. Like it's meant to be human and to be social. So don't just post and ghost and don't just sell all the time. But use it for intentionality. Like know who are your priority partners or your relationships that you're trying to nurture and incubate, and be intentional with liking and commenting and supporting them. And there's multiple ways of how you can do that. But those who often tell me they don't do that, I'm like, oh, you must not like people. And they always laugh and they're like, oh no, I love people. I love relationships. I'm like, then why aren't you using social?
Yeah. Well,
So,
another good thing about it is that it allows us to share the narrative of what's really going on. Way before the media is going to tell you what's happening. We can tell you now. A team our size, we're fortunate because we feel these nuances of like slight market shifts. Like just this year, in the last 10 days, we've seen a major change in buyer activity. Our
mm,
listings have been sitting for 3 or 4 months. All of a sudden, we got 8 showings and 2 offers on a Saturday, and a house has been on the market for 140 days. All of a sudden our buyers that were waiting to the end, hey, after the first of the year, well, here they come. And so now all of a sudden, this weekend we saw multiple offers again. Well, we haven't seen that in 7 months, probably 6 months at least in our market. So we can share those messages on social with folks of what's really happening now, way before they're going to get any kind of reports, which may or may not be accurate anyway, depending on where they're getting their news on activity. So social's been very useful for us in that manner as well, of being able to share the actual narrative of what's going on in the street in real time.
Yeah, I just love that. And, I think it's, of course, since we have Deborah always here, it's great to get that feedback on it. It's great to hear you talk about it in real life. And I'm looking back at my notes from when I was in your office. And one of the questions that you asked at the end to your team was, am I on pace for the life I want to live? And so one of the other things I loved about you is I know what's going on in your life. Number one is because you call me. I'm in your database. So I just love that. I'm like, oh, Ty's calling me. I feel so good. So I know you practice what you preach. But I was blown away, not just that you gave the, hey, here's what it took from an activity perspective to get an appointment, but you also know what you're doing to live the life that you want to live. I mean, you walk through your vacation days and some other statistics. Do you mind sharing those with everyone?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, last year there were a lot of change, but there are some things that I was very happy about. Like I had 67 days of vacation in 2022, right? My goal was 60. I had 17 days I volunteered for nonprofits. My goal was 15. So I beat both of those goals because to me, real estate is the vehicle we use to live the life we really want to live. The more efficient and productive we can become in our business, the more time we have to do the things that matter more to us. For me, that's making a big difference. My life goal is I want to positively impact 1 billion people in the world. And I'm not only going to meet 1 billion people, but my thought is that, well, hey, if I can have those relationships one at a time, and if my name comes up and somebody smiles or treats somebody else better, or I can share in that, and then they can exponentially spread it out, who knows? Who knows what we can do? The point being is that the more efficient we can become and the more we can get better at our craft and help more folks out, the more time we have to make a bigger impact. For me, that's giving back in the community, in the state, nationally, internationally, as well as enjoying life. Going to travel and experience, and got to go to Greece last year for a week. And that was, of course, one of the highlights of my life so far. And just absolutely, and those are memories forever, and so those are the things that matter more, are more important to me. So I like just working on the efficiency so I can do more of that.
Yeah, I just love it.
Wow.
And I also love the fact you had 116 date nights last year, according to my notes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was the 2 week. 2 week.
You're either a player, hopefully you're married, right? You're not on Tinder, are you?
Engaged, and we're we still date each other quite
great.
a bit.
Great.
That's right. Yeah, 116 date nights in 2020.
So just real quick, everyone, think about this. Think about, my word of the year is intentional, right? Being intentional about everything. And so Ty is super intentional with the things that are important to him in life. And even when I saw you tell your team, when you said the 67 days of vacation, you were excited about that, but you, in at least the way that I heard next to you, were like really even more excited about the volunteering days and being super passionate about that. And, Kim here in the comments and in Zoom's like, oh yeah, I love the vision boards behind you. I mean, you're very intentional with what you want to do and accomplish. And then you're setting out every day to move one step closer. So at the end of the year, you can look back and say, yep, I did what it is I said I was going to do. I did what it is I wanted to do, and I'm living a life by design.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, my word this year is progress, like how are we just getting a little bit better every day. And I just love like goal setting, goal tracking, because to your point, I love to be able to look back and say, what did I do well? What am I proud of? What did I drop the ball on? And then do I need to shift my focus, to a little bit more to that? And so we talk a lot about counterbalance in life. Like, I don't know that there's ever a possibility to have everything going the right way at the right time. So I feel like sometimes we have to just put a little more effort into the area of our life we want to improve on. And that will change and adjust as those priorities change for us. And so, to have a happy relationship, happy home life, the dates were important to fulfill my, the lifestyle or the plan I've got, the legacy I want to leave from a world positivity standpoint and help standpoint. Those volunteer days were huge. Being able to go enjoy life before retirement is huge. So, if you look at just those three categories and tracking that, I can look back and be proud of it, man, okay, we really made progress, and I feel better and more fulfilled than I did a year ago. I'm getting better.
Love that. That's definitely something I'm going to implement, because I do not track. In fact, most of my quote vacations are going to learn more events. My sister's always telling me that is not vacation. You need to learn how to unplug. And I really love what I do, where I don't feel like it's work. Like, I get to do this and it's my passion. So I just love learning this stuff. So it is challenging at times for me to even go on a plane, and my mind out and listening to a podcast or I'm watching a YouTube video, that I don't know, I feel like I am living my passion with what I do. So I don't really keep up with vacation days or travel, but then I also look back and think, of all the places I went to last year, I don't think any of them were just non-learning or business, maybe
That's
I need to learn to cut loose a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you can do both. I mean, I was in, I've done a couple, been in Dallas, a couple, like Todd, you mentioned it, I was there for the Keller Williams Convention twice over the past, like probably 5 or 6 years we've had it there. And both times I was on stage playing my guitar, opening up for, big national acts. And I just love that, playing music, and it's, it's my therapy. But I counted those as vacation days. I was, listening and learning, but at night I was hanging out and networking and socializing, and I was in a hotel and I had flown there. And even though it was work, to your point, Deborah, I love what I do too. Like, you can do both. You can do both.
Yeah.
Well, but I got to imagine
my word for the year.
Go
ahead.
Your mindset was different though, sitting in Greece than it was sitting at a KW event, right?
Well, that's a good point, right? There's different levels of vacation time. Correct. But you know what's funny was a quick story about that. We were in the last part of that. We did Athens. I was able to officiate some very dear friends of mine wedding in Santorini on a cliff overlooking the sea. And they thought enough of me to invite me to come marry them. Very dear friends of mine, Matt and Vicky. And then we went to Mykonos at the end of the trip, which is, all party, go crazy all night. But there was like a 10 or 11 hour time difference. And at the time in May, we were busy. So I'm literally writing contracts in my hotel room at 11:30 p.m. because they don't even start till 1 a.m. in Mykonos. So I was able to get contracts written and get them out on an offer that got accepted, and then go out all night in Mykonos, and it was all good. We got it accepted the next morning. I slept in, and another vacation day.
Although I bet on your taxes, that wasn't a vacation day. That was work.
Very big write-off.
Yes. Okay, so if you're a brand new real estate agent, or say, you've entered in the last year or two, what advice would you give them as like your non-negotiables of every day? If someone would have told you this earlier in your career, you think it would have made a bigger impact for you. So what would you tell them to do?
Spend 3 hours every day talking to people or meeting people, whether it's at an open, it's at a broker open, it's on the phone, it's in social media, it's in your phone. 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, 15 hours a week. That's our minimum of what it's going to take. Now you got to figure out how to do that. So if you have a sphere, then that's where we're going to start. If you don't have a sphere, we're going to start with prospecting. Which is going to be door knocking, open house. And that's not even a huge percentage of our business, but it's a way to build a pipeline for a long-term success. And I think that you've got to do more shadowing as well, like get in front of other agents and learn how they talk and how they speak. We do call days, Monday and Tuesday, where we come together and we'll just take turns making calls. And so for new agents, I think that's another non-negotiable, is being around other experienced agents on the phone and on video and on text messaging to figure out what they're saying. What questions are they asking? How are they evolving relationships and just reaching out as a courtesy to see who needs help? And then those are the main things. So I'd say 3 hours a day, 5 days a week at least, interacting with people. If you have a sphere, go that route first. If you don't have a sphere, then go prospecting first, and shadow other agents and practice.
Are there any other types of business professionals? I know you mentioned CPAs, but do you prospect financial advisors, divorce attorneys? I know you mentioned other agents in other areas. What would be if you were going to tell that agent, here are your top maybe 5 places to go? Builders?
Yeah, small business owners, number one. Okay. So people that are so the way we do it with our agents, if they choose to go this route, the method is this. If you're going to farm an area, for example, then we're going to also farm the businesses in that neighborhood. So we'll do, say, 1 per week typically is the protocol for a business spotlight. So you would go to a privately owned, in most cases, privately owned business or small business, and do a 60-second kind of intro to the business, offer some type of incentive, coupon, something to be able to go with that. And then, of course, professional services. So CPAs, family law attorneys would be the primary focus if we were looking at attorneys, wealth managers, of course. And how do we do that? Well, we have to be able to give referrals first. Like we'll call realtors even in one of the things we do is we'll call agents, for example, in areas of the United States that migrate to Arizona, which is pretty much everything west of the Mississippi. So we're talking to agents in Minnesota, Michigan, North Dakota, Oregon, Washington, where people are coming to Arizona. And what we'll do is just build referral relationships. We may have people to go there. And what we're doing is building our network of folks. Look, I don't have somebody in Spokane, and I want to have a go-to. Tell me about your business. Are you a team? Are you a solo agent? Do you work more with buyers or sellers? What areas do you service? What's an ideal kind of client for you? And then we build those relationships by reaching out to those agents to make sure our roster is full. So no matter what anybody needs, we've got somebody, because we do real estate nationwide. not just in Arizona. And so then our hope is that, maybe they've got somebody who's coming down to Arizona as well. We can help them when the time comes. But more importantly, we're creating those relationships because we want to be able on social, for example, to let people know we do real estate nationwide. We've got a referral network of professionals all across the country. Call me first, and I'll get you with somebody that you can trust, that we know, that we respect, that we've vetted, and make sure you've got a great experience wherever you have a need, whatever part of the country. So that's another way we do it as well.
I just love that. And so when you find, let's use your Spokane example. So is that an agent that you found on Facebook? Is that an agent you maybe met at an event, or are you just picking random agents that work in the Keller Williams network?
Both. I mean, I will look at Keller Williams, obviously, but I'm not tied to that. I mean, if I've got, sometimes I'll go to Zillow. This happened a couple of weeks ago. I would just go, and I don't go for the least amount of reviews or the highest amount of reviews. I'm looking for something in that 75 to 125 reviews at least on Zillow. It's going to be a small to mid-sized type, team or agent. And those are the ones that I typically will reach out to. Sometimes it's within my KW network, but sometimes it's also just other brands. Or I buy real estate across the country. So I invest in different markets. And so a lot of times I'm calling those agents because I'm considering a short-term rental in Wisconsin Dells, or on the Gulf Shores of Alabama, or in Destin, Florida. And I'll call the agents there. I'll find agents there legitimately because I'm considering that market to buy, and I need a referral partner. So tell me a little about yourself, and can we potentially work together if and when I decide to go to that market? It may be this year, it could be in 5 years, but I want to know what's going on there, and I want to have a good referral partner. So I do that quite a bit as well.
Did you hear that, Todd? Short-term rentals.
I did. We won't go down that rabbit trail right now, but something, Deborah and I, just like you, Ty, are focused on building wealth, and something that we'll continue to talk about on other episodes of this podcast. And so, as I'm thinking, you're cold calling real estate agents. We have a lot of loan officers who listen to this. So what's your advice for them when they're cold calling a real estate agent? Because, every real estate agent who's successful has at least one strong loan officer, if not more. So how would you recommend to them that they reach out and cold call a referral, a potential referral partner, or at least connect with them if they're trying to build their business?
Are you talking like in a different market or same market, or?
Let's go same market, because I think that's where most of them are focused, right? They're licensed in Phoenix, and they're going to call Ty Lusk, and they're going to be like, whoa, put up the brakes. Like, so what, when they're cold calling a real estate agent, do you have any advice for them?
Well, I don't know. I mean, cold calling is obviously, probably one of the first steps they're going to take. But if it were me, the way that I've built some relationships in the past have been from a social media standpoint. So typically, and you can go too far with this. I've had some people who have gone too far, but I think that getting involved in that person, going to those events that they're teaching a class, show up to class. If you know that they've got a charity, they're asking for volunteers, or hey, we're doing a coat drive, go take some coats, right? I mean, what I think is that you can, by giving and by paying attention to what those agents are doing and supporting that without expectation of return, but giving first, that's, I think, one of the fastest, maybe not fastest, but one of the best ways to get into relationship with agents when they know that you care, especially if the agent's got some type of a cause, or they're teaching, or they want support, and you go show that support, either attendance at a class, or on a Zoom, or donating to a cause. I personally think that goes a long way of building a better foundational relationship, because we're giving first. And to me, that's the way to do it. Is I want to bring value to you however I can, whether it's time or resources. And then I'd love to know about any niche that you've got, anything that you've got that you're really, really good at, a niche product, a niche service. Somebody who can give strategies to clients. Todd, you're awesome at that, right? You've got an investment strategy for folks in real estate and beyond. And those things I think are really valuable. People that I'd want to be around and want to become friends with and want to do business with. That's one way.
So if I were to call you and I was like, hey, Ty, this is Deborah with ABC Mortgage. I am hosting a social media class. I've been following you on social. I love what you do. I'd love to invite you kind of get a chance to meet you. It's going to be next Wednesday at noon. Any chance I can put your name down for an RSVP? Would you even be open to that if you had the slot, or are you so loyal that and you already know, like, tell me how that would work.
So if it was a class, I mean, if my search was open and it was something like that, I need to know more about social media, for example. I've always get better on social media. I probably would go do that. I would even go have lunches with people because and I'll usually pay. They'll invite me to lunch, but I won't let them pay. But the conversation typically will revolve around what their life is about, their family. I'm going to ask them a ton of questions. I love it. I'm just so intrigued by people. And I want to know who they are. So I'll entertain a coffee or a lunch or a happy hour or something like that, just to get to know somebody. And I'll let them know, look, I've got, loyalties but is doing business together the only way that we can connect? Not really. I've got a lot of agents who come on our team who don't have relationships and they need somebody. Well, is it possible that I could introduce you to some of our agents that are new to the area or don't have a relationship already? Yeah. Is it possible we could do some stuff together to generate leads? Yeah. Is it possible that we might have giving in common? We may have some commonalities in the community that we can help each other with. Yeah. Yeah. So I look at it like this. So I might come to a class like that. Probably would come to a class if it was open. In my world, though, I love the face-to-face, right? Because remember that goal, I'm going to have face-to-face. That doesn't mean necessarily with clients. It could be face-to-face with a business owner or a lender. And everybody eats lunch, right? Most people drink coffee. So it's not a huge commitment other than what we would normally be doing, especially if I go to them. And so those are a couple of ideas that I like that have worked, with me, people that I've made referrals to, not immediately, but not too long after I saw that they really cared and were truly concerned about making the world a better place and just being a good human.
I mean, I just love that. I mean, my big takeaways are a couple. Number one is, you said you have to be genuinely, you're not going to show up and try to support Ty at a charity event or some other realtor at a charity event. If you're not really there, it's because you care and you want to be genuine. But in the end, you just said, hey, we all want to hang out and do life with friends. And what more fun is there than actually being in business with your friends? And so really, I always say it's the long game, right? I mean, if you're playing the short game, it's just not really going to always work out for you. It does sometimes, but I mean, just think about how you can build relationship. And I think what you just said there, Ty, was just totally spot on.
Well, it can't just be like this is a horrible word choice, but like the hit it and quit it, or like the post and ghost. It's like the long haul of really investing in relationships and getting serious of who are the types of relationships that I'm attracting, and am I attracting or am I chasing? And I think there's a difference between when you hunt and when you just seek to really understand other people, and it's not always about what they can give you or like what you can receive. Because to your point, I mean, you may have a team member who needs something. And I think so often loan officers build up in their head, like, oh, I'm so scared to cold call, or what is he going to say? Or will he answer? And he'll never meet with me because he uses Todd or, whatever. So they go ahead and like disqualify it. And then here, guys, if you're listening to this and you're a loan officer, did you hear what he just said? And the fact that he would even pay for the lunch. Like, I didn't know agents out there existed that paid lunches.
Yeah, you shouldn't say that publicly, Ty. Come on. That phone's going to be ringing.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's a good point. I mean, look, people are people, and I love humans in general. And I don't care what jersey you wear, right? Maybe you're a Cowboy. Maybe you're a 49er.
Yeah.
But maybe you're an Eagle, Todd. Maybe you're an Eagle.
It's all
but
good.
I love you all because look, we're all in the same game of business and life. And so no matter what jersey you might wear, we're all in this together, man. We all have this is a time that we have to come together, especially, in market corrections and adjustments. And so I think that humanity has to ring true. And that it's not about what you can do for me. It's what I can do for you. And maybe it comes back, maybe it doesn't. But we're in this together.
I think that's awesome. I wasn't going to mention football. I wasn't going to pull out my Eagles cup, and drink from it while we were talking. But all right. So any other questions you want to ask him, Deborah, about building relationships and any other advice maybe from a loan officer perspective before I shift gears to a final topic?
Not that I can think of right now. Other than I know you talked about your database strategy, but do you also do the 33 touch? Like, do you do mailers? Do you do postcards? Do you circle prospect when you have open house? I mean, you still do the pop buys. Do you do client events? I mean, you do
All the
all of that.
above,
Yeah.
yeah. As a team, we have a farm area. So our team, Kenny Klaus, is pretty well known for farming. That's kind of where he started. And so we mailed at 33,000 doors a month currently with a newsletter
Cool.
I think it's a 16-page newsletter. So that's in two different zip codes, locally. I also farm my neighborhood, which is a community called Seville. And so I do postcards there and social media there as well. I belong to the club, like a golf club, whatever, country club. So I belong there and play music there. So I farm kind of that area also. But yeah, our system, it's really a 36 touch now, of which there's 5 to 6 of those are voice to voice touches. The rest are automated. And there's some automated texting on that as well. And then I add to that with social media. So it might be closer to 40 a year based on social media touches as well.
Yeah, it makes me think of the James Clear who wrote Atomic Habits, who says you don't rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems, right? You're super systematized. One of the things, this may ring a bell. So for those of you who are listening to this, who are big mortgage coach, productivity mastermind folks, if you actually look back to the original calls we did with Bill Hillestead, where he talked about realtors doing the marketing, which is what Ty mentioned, right? We go out and we interview businesses, 60-second business clips in the areas. If you go back to the original videos that we did with Bill 5 years ago, the agent that he talks about is Kenny Klaus. And he shows Kenny going out into the community. He's got these 2 zip codes where not only do they all know Kenny those zip codes, he makes them battle. So if they're raising coats like for charity, then they're going to actually have a charity battle between the 2 zip codes of who can do more. And so there's no doubt there's a lot of community involvement in there, and they're having fun with it. That's a great word, Deborah, because that's when I view what the team does. You guys do so much beyond just real estate.
Yeah, it's important. Again, real estate is a vehicle. What we can do with that is the real game changer. We're proud of our community involvement. We helped, I think, 77 kids with Christmas this past year. When we work with the local schools, we have our own nonprofit that pretty much everybody on the team contributes with each closing. And we're able to, pay for, there are tons of stuff that's happened in the community that we've been able to support. And so that matters, And then Kenny, of course, he was with, real quick, a lot of people know the story, but he was with FedEx for a long time. He got into real estate and he just treated it like his FedEx route, which was to go to different businesses and the houses. He was just treat it like a route. And that ended up just turning into dividends, where we're in an organization now. We're so happy and proud to say that, we've been able to help at least one person a day, every day for 11 years, buy a house. It's crazy. But it all started from this idea of being in the community and going business to business and door to door and having these, we do a food drive with every open house. So we're able to get 1 to 5 bags of food that we donate to the local food bank for every open house we do. And it's door knocking literally with these bags that, I'm Ty with the Klaus team, and we're doing a food drive today here in the neighborhood. It also corresponds with an open house we're doing tomorrow. We'd love for you to come and just give us your opinion of the house, see who you might want to be your neighbor. And if you've got any food you want to donate, we'll go ahead and take it down to the food bank for you. You can bring it by the house, or I'll pick it up afterwards if you want to leave it on the front porch. And that's it.
Wow.
Every open house.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Never heard that. Yeah.
Really cool. That's something the lenders could do also for their agent partners. Their agent partners are going to do open houses. Just go get some brown paper bags. You know what I mean? Ours happen to have, handles so you can leave them on the door if they don't answer. And they've, of course, got our logo on the side. The other side is a staple of the flyer for the open house. In their neighborhood, and we'll typically do 25 to 50 doors around the open. And that might be something that lending partners could, decide to help their agents out with. That would be a really cool idea if they're not doing it already, and also give them some one-on-one time and help each other out.
All right, Ty, if you ever want me to go I've never said I would door knock. I've always said I will never door knock a house, but I would go help deliver bags with you and door knock if you ever want. And I think, again, if you're a loan officer listening or you're a real estate agent listening, if you're a real estate agent, swipe and adapt. If you're a loan officer, why don't you call your favorite realtor and say, hey, I've got a great opportunity for you to impact and get more people to your next open house. And then you can go take them to lunch, and maybe they'll even buy you lunch like Ty would, or maybe you can buy them lunch.
Well, and look, we call it bell ringing now, right? Because you don't have to knock on many doors anymore. But the beauty is you can also talk to Ring doorbells. So if people don't, we have. I look like an idiot, but I'll have conversations with the Ring doorbell if they don't answer. Like, hey, it's Ty, just stopping by. I got this bag to donate.
It's me again.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you know? And somebody could probably even screen record that and they would post and be like, look who came by my house. But I will tell you, I took Bold 4 different times. My first year, I enrolled as an agent. I was a loan officer, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to be the best real estate agent there is, even though I was a loan officer. And so the first day when they were talking about the Bold 100 and they were the percentage who actually do it, I was like, I'm doing it the first week. And let me tell you, if my daughter wasn't with me witnessing, I would have quit because nobody answered the door. I'm like, I don't look like a scary person knocking. They would like peek through the blinds and they wouldn't even open the door. And I'm like, I'm not selling anything, but I realized how much harder it was. And in Texas, it was hot and I was definitely getting some butt sweat. So I was ready to be like, okay, someone please open the door. I've got it. My daughter's with me. I can't quit, but I got my Bold 100 pin. So
how many doors did you have to knock to talk to 100 people?
Well, so we were going around and around and around. Then I was like, screw this. We're going to go to this park. It's a huge park. And that's when I was like, all right, this is where we're going. This is a lot easier.
Innovation.
I got smarter.
Innovation. Yeah. I love it. I love it. All right. So, kind of as we're winding down, Ty, I think there's a lot of people who are a little fearful in the market. And I think you gave us lots of different ideas of really how we can, set goals for ourselves to motivate us to work. But kind of what advice would you give to someone who's just a little uncertain?
Well, hang in there. I mean, this is not gonna be anybody who's new. I mean, most people have not seen a market shift. So of course it's gonna be scary because it's been easy for almost everybody in real estate and lending, in the past 10 years, they haven't really had to go through any type of adjustment. So I think be patient. I think that we'll see how long this is going to last. No, obviously nobody knows, but I don't think we're in for more than another 4 or 5 months max. We've already started to see the corner start to turn a little bit in our market here. That could be a blip. It could be a trend. I don't know. But I guess the advice is that, look, everybody needs a roof. And, affordability isn't helpful for anybody. Rents keep going up. I think we have to have alternative programs. So people, for example, who aren't quite able to buy now, can you get involved in a lease purchase program where they can work with their lender to get approved to buy a house, for example? We may have to spend much more time than we think we may need to in order to find more people we can help. But the advice is just stay calm. It's going to be okay. But you got to work, right? I mean, the other question I had is like, look, if we were an employee of ourselves, and we kind of are, right? Most of us have LLCs or PLLCs, and we had a salary. So in theory, I'm sort of an employee of myself. Would I fire me for the effort I'm putting out, or would I still have a job?
That's always such a great question to ask, right? I mean, think about that. If we all spent some time on that, then the real question is, we all know that if we were our own boss, we'd want us to improve a little bit. So how would your boss want you to improve if you were your boss?
Yeah, focus. I mean, being having better habits, which is the theme of today, is consistency and having good habits of every single day making progress, every single day dedicating time to our craft. I think you can have a great real estate business in 4 hours a day. I mean, I do it. I spend about 20 hours a week on my production part of my business, and I've got a decent business of production, so I know it can be done. The other part of my week is obviously team growth. So if I can do it, you can do it. And it takes better habits. So advice would be follow the schedule, make sure that if you time block, you follow the time block, track what you do. Let's just see how close you are to what your intentions are for the time that you spend. And no, it's not easy, but it is simple.
Yeah. I think when I went to the KW mega camp in Austin, it's not the reunion, it was the mega camp. Someone on the stage had said, if you were going to be an employee of mine and I told you I would pay you $150,000 for the year, and all you had to do was prospect or make calls for 3 hours a day. So 3 hour day, that's it. And you could make $150,000 a year. Would you do it? But then too often, when left on your own, we don't do it. Yet we say we want to earn whatever it is that you want to earn, and they just won't do those daily disciplines that we know in time, if done consistently, do have an ROI, and there's ways to improve on it. So maybe like right now, you may have to make more calls to get an appointment or a deal, but if done consistently, you get better and your confidence grows and the fear goes away.
That's exactly right. And, of course, we're you guys are in a coaching program, and it goes without saying that I don't know any successful people that don't have a coach. I mean, I got 3 of them, right? I got my business coach, a guitar coach, I got a running coach, and I invest in that because I want to get better in all those areas. But with a coach, the other thing is that we have to hold our coaches accountable. We think that the coach has got to hold us accountable, but I go back and forth on that. I think that the only true accountability is what we have to ourselves, and argue that as you may. I get both sides of the argument. I just think that it's up to me whether I'm going to choose to do it. And when I talk about holding my coach accountable, what I mean is, like, if I'm paying a good amount of money for a 30-minute session, I need at least one takeaway that I can implement immediately, and I'll implement it immediately. So I made that deal with my coach. Look, I can't spend $250 without coming away with something that I can put into my business today. And my commitment is to implement it. Your commitment is to give me something of value that I can leave this call and go move the needle and progress.
Yeah.
I just love that.
I feel like you need to let everyone know how they can contact you or what your social handles are, so that, one, if they have a referral for anyone in Arizona, you're their go-to referral, but also just to be able to connect with you. So do you mind sharing what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you got it. Let me type it in. So Real Estate Rockstars on Instagram. My name is Ty Lusk on pretty much every other social. I'm going to type into the comments my email address and phone number.
Perfect. And we'll make sure we get that. Can you just give it out real quick too, verbally, Ty, for those who are listening? We'll also get in the show notes in both YouTube and on all the podcast platforms. For sure. Yeah. So it's Ty at klausteam.com. That's KLAUS team.com. And my phone number directly is 480-203-4619. And on social, on Instagram's Real Estate Rockstars, Ty Lusk on Instagram. And you definitely should be following Ty. There's a lot there. So, of course, if you are listening to this in the podcast, since we just launched this as a podcast, we would love you to subscribe. That'll help Deborah and I get some metrics here. And if you feel we earned a 5-star review, we would love that as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you could subscribe and like, that would be terrific as well. Ty, outside of sending you referrals or anything else you would love our listeners to do for you? Just go out and be great, man. Like, live the life that you're supposed to live. You know what I mean? Like, don't leave the earth not doing your best. Like, keep your standards high and go kick ass. All right. Well, I love it. So here's my commitment to you, Ty, is we're going to have lunch or dinner, whatever it is, and I'm going to buy. So that's from me. What are your last words, Deborah?
Just kick ass. And thank you, Ty, for choosing to spend this hour with us. Super grateful. It's an honor to meet another Dallas Cowboys fan, especially when on a call with Todd Bookspan. But, I already feel just such gratitude and inspiration from you. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being true to you and being who you are and living your purpose. Well, that warms my heart. I appreciate you saying that. It's a very, very, very much my pleasure and honor to get the opportunity to be here. So thank you. And for all the listeners and the watchers out there, just go be great. Just go be awesome. You deserve it. You can do it. It's in you. You just got to make the choice. All right, everyone. We will see you on the next episode. Thank you, my friend Ty. Thank you, Deborah. And thank you, everyone, for being here. We'll see you soon. See you guys. Thanks again.